All right, so who are you and what are you known for?
I'm Sami Chimonahehe I am the founder of a group of Source 2 developers, people who love developing for this engine, called Eagle One Development Team. I'm most known for creating a series of tutorials on YouTube to cover creating in the Source 2 engine, mostly focusing on the Hammer tool that is provided in Source 2.
Very nice. So with I was talking to another map maker today,
Mhm.
who you probably know, Razzle Dazzle, and
Yeah.
he said that you are probably the like most one of the most knowledgeable people outside of Valve on the Hammer engine. So I guess my
That's
question,
kind of him.
my question would be like, where did that journey start? When did you start learning Hammer, and when did you start making maps?
Oh, man, it started during COVID, we're going into a lockdown. I wanted to do something during COVID, and so I picked up actually a VR headset and got Half-Life Alyx. I've always been
Wise.
a huge I've always been a huge Half-Life fan, like, when I was younger. I can remember, geez, Half-Life came out when I was, like, 10 years old, I wanna say, it's 10, 11, and that was, I still to this day contend that Half-Life, the original one, was, like, the biggest impact of a video game that I've ever had, and so when Alex was out, it was me stepping back into Half-Life. I haven't played it. I know Half-Life 2 was, I think, at that point that and the first and second expansions of that. I think that was the last thing that Valve had released. So VR was just like, I think, getting to be in its stage where people were be able to access it. And I bought like a Samsung headset pretty cheap.
Mm.
It's like a
Wow.
good entry level to VR. Yeah, I don't even think they made the headset anymore. It's like a great way though to just like kill time during COVID and and it was definitely, I think, playing Half-Life Alyx in VR was, like, to me, one of the ultimate gaming experiences that
It's a
anyone
life
could have.
changing game.
Yeah, absolutely. It made me rethink about just game design, and then, I saw that, they were supposed to have released Hammer, tool set with the Half-Life Alyx release. That was what they promised, and they never did. So, when I first started playing it, people had the bootleg version of Hammer, which, I think Gavarados was an original developer. He was able to, like, put together files where we were able to get, like, this really janky version of
Hmm.
Hammer, and it was so unsupported. We couldn't even like you couldn't we didn't have tile sets, like half the textures were missing. But they had a mapping contest on one of the discords, the Source 2 modding, and it was a great way for people to come out and showcase their talents. Now, I actually didn't know that the bootleg version existed at this time. Ended up joining the Half-Life Alyx like Discord and then seeing that within a week of getting the VR headset, Valve decided to officially release the tool. So they had the bootleg, and then the contest ended, and then within a week of that, Valve's official tools set got released. And so I happened to jump on like right when that occurred, so I was really lucky. But there was no documentation. Nobody had any idea what to do, and Valve's way of showing us how to use the tool set was they did include all the VMAPs for the entire Half-Life Alyx game in there.
Right.
So they did basically, yeah, the uncompiled version of the maps that you could explore,
Hmm.
and then that was it. That was it. They just left that, and the community was left to figure out for themselves what was going on. I was
Jeez.
really fortunate enough, to make a few friends along the way. A couple of whom, and just for purposes where they're under an NDA, so I can't say, but
Okay.
they were developers who had worked on Source 2 titles in the past,
Okay.
starting back with the Steam VR, and I believe Steam VR was actually one of the first times that Source 2, and one of them had worked on Dota 2.
Hmm.
Which was also using the Hammer tool. So I was very fortunate enough where I got actually lucky to get into voice chat with them in Discord, share screen, and see how to use this engine. And I ended up, as a result of that, taking that knowledge and creating YouTube videos after making a few maps and releasing them on Half-Life Alyx. So with the
Hmm.
knowledge that I was able to get and build up. I released a few maps on Half-Life Alyx. The GoldenEye maps, they were really my way of learning how to use the engine. I ended up recreating the GoldenEye 007 map called Facility, which is on the
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo 64. It's like a very iconic map for gamers. I'm like born in the 80s, so for me, like
Right.
my first person experience, yeah, my FPS experience was like from the beginning inception all the way to where it's at now. And so for me, being able to use a map that was already been made, but just I just took the layout and recreated it using Source 2. That ended up being the start of gathering a team of other developers. So some other people had seen the map I released, and for example, like B-Man Bowman, who was our audio guy, he ended up doing all the audio for the maps because I had zero interest in doing any text editing. And so I ended up forming a team of people who like specialize in specific parts of the Source 2 engine. And my goal was what we learned. I wanted to help and show anyone else who wanted to develop for this as well. So that's really what inspired me
Hmm.
to release these tutorials. Was just having so much power under this engine, and very few people who actually understood really the workflow and how it's going to be able to help you get the most out of it. But really, to me, I was just really fortunate enough to have developed some relationships within the community,
That is really
and
cool.
specifically yeah, those who had worked on it
Um,
previously in an official capacity.
that's so cool. Do you do you have like a history in software or these kind of engines? Because it like even with that knowledge, like you seem very adept and like you picked up a lot of stuff on your own. Um, and I
I
guess yeah, go on.
Oh, no, I mean, the last time, so I did, when I was younger and I was in high school, I did develop for Unreal, the Unreal Engine,
Okay.
not Unreal 1, Unreal 1.5, I think Unreal Tournament or UT99.
Hmm.
And this was way back in like 2001, I
Okay,
want
so
to
I
say
wasn't even
2002.
alive.
Yeah. So we're
Jeez.
using like, yeah, this is an engine that, that's when I started developing, and so I joined a modding group that was
Hmm.
making a mod for it was called Atlantis, and it was basically our interpretation of the Stargate Atlantis. And then we got hit with a cease and desist order from Fox, so that ended that
Oh,
pretty quickly.
damn.
But that yeah, that was way back in the early internet Wild West days. So that was like the last time that I did anything level design related. And then fast forward to almost 20 years later, and with Valve now, I think back then they had Worldcraft. I think that was the engine, the for the original Half-Life that was out. Yeah, to see where it's at now and in its official capacity, I've always had an interest in computers, and something that I was always keen on doing, but just never ever had the chance to do anything because of just life. So for me, this is something I've always wanted to do, and when it came out, that's why I completely shifted towards it.
Right. Okay. Um. I guess my next question would kind of be before I lead into question three. So, how did you shift from like Half-Life Alyx? I know that I've looked on the Eagle One website and like you've done mods for like a bunch of Source 2 games. Did
Mhm.
doing maps for Counter-Strike, did that sort of come out of necessity like when you sort of gained like insight in the community and like people, because I mean realistically Counter-Strike even in the skin
Mhm.
creation scene is woefully under equipped in terms of like resources and how to get
Mhm.
started. So was it sort of out of necessity?
I've always liked Counter-Strike. That was one of the original games that I
Mm.
played when I was growing up in the wild west of the internet days. I used to remember my dad actually got a second phone line because I kept using the internet so much, AOL. You'd have to log in on a 56K modem and no one could call the house. So yeah, my days of playing Counter-Strike were back in the 300-400 ping days where that was like a good
Right.
server latency that you were getting. And so I would wake up at like 5 in the morning before school started to get some gaming in. And so I always loved Counter-Strike, and starting on Half-Life Alyx and then moving to Sandbox, which was the next Source 2
Mm.
engine that really became public. I I of all the engines, truthfully, I've made develop for, Sandbox has been my favorite to develop for. And that might
Interesting.
just be because you can make any game that you want in that engine, from race car games to we made a gym workout game in there that was actually Twitch integrated, so people on Twitch were getting on and like actually able to be a part of the game. So like I love the engine, and so when I see that, knowing Counter-Strike 2 was right around the corner, I always had an eye on that, and I knew the audience for Counter-Strike was going to be way bigger than Alex.
Mm,
VR, although it's great, I will say it is like somewhat of a novelty still. Alex is
very
really the
much.
exception. It's very much the exception. Half-Life Alex is not what the state of VR is really, and most games are really janky. And it's just they need so much work. So I knew that the audience for Counter-Strike 2 would be tremendous and big. So it was a little bit out of necessity, knowing that eventually, Source 2 would go from Alex to Sandbox to Counter-Strike 2. But since I loved Counter-Strike anyways, I was always gonna be, jumping onto that as soon as it came out. I mean, even people within our team, I would tell them, like, as we're developing for Sandbox, like, "Hey, I'm, hearing Counter-Strike 2 is right around the corner, this and that." And so, yeah, as soon as it came out, just, knowing that as well that the, community would also kind of be back, wanting to get more information, that made me feel like I needed to remake the series. So when Counter-Strike 2 was released, just a little bit of insight. I was given early access to Counter-Strike 2.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
was given it by the Valve, a couple of the lead Valve developers who I do have a good relationship with. I am in contact on a personal level with a couple of the map designers too, who
Hmm.
made the Counter Strike 2 maps. And so once we went into early access for Counter Strike 2, um, it was sort of implied that my access to Counter Strike 2 that early was given so that I could begin to make the series of tutorial
Right.
videos. It's like one
So
of those wink winks.
so you're like a half, like a shadow endorsement official resource type thing. Like,
Yeah, it's like one of those where, like, if anything goes awry, they can let go and say, "Yeah, we don't know this guy." But no, on a serious note, it was really helpful to me because I was able to as well get access to a couple of guys on our team who were very knowledge in the technical aspects of the
hmm,
engine. So they gave me access and a couple of other guys access, so we were able to work ahead of time to try and prepare as best as we can a newer tutorial series. So that's why I came up with the CS2 Mapping Academy series
right.
on top of the crash course. The crash course one was using the Half-Life Alex, and there was so many differences within Alex to Sandbox to Counter-Strike 2. I mean, even Sandbox
Mm,
itself is a completely different way to use Hammer. And truthfully, I wish that there's so many things from Sandbox that I wish Counter-Strike 2 had, and vice versa. So
hmm.
like the ultimate engine would be a combination of both of them. But that was yeah, that was kind of the implied early access gift that I was given. So I felt almost obligated in some sort to produce something that would be able to, like, yeah, draw the average viewer in. I was very fortunate to I guess be the first to get out there, because I kind of knew that in this world, the when CS2 was pushed out, um being able to be one of the first producers of content out there for the community side of developing these community made maps, that would be a big determining factor in a lot of where people would point to if they wanted to learn something new, or if they were looking forward to new content on how to make maps. So it was really
Hmm.
important for me to develop it as soon as I got access.
That's so cool. I guess focusing in on CS2, what is your
Mhm.
favorite part of working in Source 2 for CS maps?
Oh, definitely the play testing. There is so much eagerness from the community
Mm,
to play test the newest maps and get it out there. So as soon as you develop something, um, being able to get feedback on it within 24 hours, you just post it, and right away.
yeah.
The best part is seeing your what you envisioned in your map play out, right? If you
Hmm.
develop a spot and you're thinking, oh, this would be perfect for players to be able to to flank in this location, or when you develop these strategies in your mind and you see the players actually do it, that's a type of feeling reward where the gameplay design that you had in mind really gives you that dopamine rush that it keeps you pushing for more. So that to me is really one of the favorite parts of developing for Source 2. And also on that note, it's also going to be one of the harshest because there's uh,
Yeah.
on that note, you'll also get quite a bit of feedback too, where everything that you think is going to go right goes completely south and wrong, and then you're looking at starting from scratch. So
I was
it is yeah.
I was in mapping. I've been in the mapping server, not getting my maps play tested at the minute. I've just been taking part in them to like get a feel
Oh
for
yeah.
what the common problems are. Today was a rough day for a couple map makers. But again,
Oh yeah.
productive. Like, I've really been enjoying it, and also like I didn't expect to sort of like get along and or not like get to know people. You get to know people really quick in playtesting. Like, I
Hmm.
joined, and like obviously I may have had a slight advantage having had an interview with Team Yor and having had an
Oh
interview with
yeah.
Razzle at that point already, but like
Uh-huh.
that's just like that only breaks the ice for two people. And the
Hmm.
rest of them, I've just had a really fun time meeting them and playing with them and seeing how they play,
Yeah.
on top of like
It
what they
it
focus
is
on.
it's a character. Yeah, the characters in the community are really they're so contrasting, right? Yeah, like you said, you're gonna get people from all over the world who all have completely different views, right? You get one
Hmm.
person who says I love this map, and the next
Yeah.
person says I can't stand this map.
It's so interesting. It really is.
Oh
Just on
yeah,
like a
yeah, no, it's
psychosocial level.
it is, and especially if so Map Inc. is considered really the European version of like my Eagle One server, which is like for Map Inc. If you want to test up your map and you're in Europe, you go to Map Inc. And if you're in North
Hmm.
America, you go to Eagle One. So like we have a great relationship with the Map Inc. guys. A lot of the guys in Map Inc. end up heading over to our side once if it's too late on their side, in
It's a
the
good idea.
EU. The exactly. So it's nice because we have a lot of people who will go between both of our servers, and even between North American and European. And like it's funny, we've noticed based on where you are around the world, people's feedback tend to be more pointed in one direction or the other.
Huh.
And that can go more into the meta gameplay of like the standard 3 lane layout maps
Right.
versus the nuke layout maps. Some yeah, and so that's what's fascinating about this is you're gonna have people all over who uh have quite some things to say. And I will say, having been in a few different communities when it comes to map development, there is no doubt that Counter-Strike 2 has by far the most stringent of
Yes.
play testers and expectations and guidelines. Like
Yeah.
it is the most unforgiving, but it can also be the most rewarding community. So
Yeah.
you have to just be ready. Yeah.
They're very good at specifically like giving people their flowers and then like letting them understand like, but you need to water these. Like, you got to water
Oh
these
yeah.
flowers, otherwise these weaknesses of your map are really going to show.
And
And
I think
I
I
like
think
that they're
what
not
makes
afraid to do that.
and what usually follows up normally is positive
Yeah.
criticism, and that's a sort of constructive criticism. And so that's ultimately why this community is a lot of fun to be with. We have
Yeah.
we do have a very competitive nature when it comes to wanting to make the best map, but at the same time this community is actually, we're so like unified in terms of like wanting the best for each other, helping each other out. In the last competition, for example,
I have some questions about
oh
that later as
yeah.
well.
Oh, yeah, I've got some opinions about that, but yeah, the last competitions, like like behind the scenes, especially when it came down to the last 10, 15 people,
Hmm.
I would say I had almost every single one of us had helped each other out in some capacity. Like, I know the Warden guys had
Hmm.
taken a look at some of the other maps and helped them figure out their problems. I want to say it was
Oh wow.
Golden. So like, so you had, and that was just a sign of although the community can be very competitive, like you're not
Mm.
going to find one person here who doesn't want you to succeed and make it work. Because we have the mantra, like, when one mapper does well from the community, everybody wins. Like,
Yeah.
we everybody gets to benefit from this. So yeah, we want to see each other succeed.
It's it's also funny though, because despite being so unified, I feel like we can never agree on whether or not Mirage should stay in the competitive pool or not. I'm
Yeah,
personally
yep.
pro Mirage. I think Mirage should never leave. That's just my opinion.
That's that's yeah. That is one of there's like a there's a top three topics that are controversial in CS2. Mirage, I think, is in everyone's top three for sure.
um,
Definitely.
so leaning off of that, what is your least favored part of working in the CS2 source engine?
Um, I would say the least favorite part is, although they've been, I'm gonna give Valve credit. They've been a lot better about this. The least favorite part in the past would be making requests and asking questions about like certain things and why they're not working and like getting little to no response back. And that's primarily
Mm,
on the Half-Life Alex side of things. Half-Life Alex had zero post-release support. When
wow.
when they released the editor, that was it. They didn't say one word. Um, I um like we were very happy, like Mike Morawski, who was like the audio guy for Valve, did get into like voice chat with our guys and like showed us how to like set up sound events and showed us how to do
Hmm.
all of these advanced things. So they were doing it, I guess, like kind of off the radar, but it was nothing in any official capacity. So we felt like the most frustrating part was there was a ton of bugs, there was a ton of issues with Half-Life Alex. They got no post-release support, and it's still just sitting there on the first iteration that was released like 5 years ago.
Jeez.
With CS2, it's great.
Hmm.
I have found them making immediate changes on suggestions that we have given them as a community in terms of tool set uses and what we'd like.
Mm,
They've been very good at post-release support. They've been adding updates, and they've been doing hidden updates too that they don't even document. That is actually one of the annoying things, is that they'll update it and then we don't even get patch updates on the Hammer editor, and then we find out that there's actually been changes made and updates. So that is the one thing that can be
mm,
frustrating between iterations. It's just it's really more than anything the technical aspects of it. I think for most people the answer would be having negative criticism that's sent their way. And the only
mm,
reason why I didn't say that is that I feel like having had been in this game development community for the last 5 years, I have been through the flame. I've been through quite a bit of roasting. So having that thrown onto me from CS2 didn't really alter or phase me, but I know for a
nah.
lot of people, this is where it hits them hard, is just taking feedback from the community and knowing what to do with it and not getting down and not letting let it get to
When
you.
I made a Lego orange box diorama, and oh my god, the TF2 community, they ripped me apart. They couldn't
Yeah.
they were not big fans. I know what it's like when you irk people in a Valve
Yeah.
community
And
sometimes.
the Valve stands are like another, and it's funny too, because as the community developers, we like laugh at a lot of what irks the community because we developing the maps, you get a much deeper sense of appreciation for like what
Mm,
goes into this and like your aesthetic choices. But yeah, it is known, when it comes to communities, Valve stands have a very high pedigree of letting you know they're not happy with what you've made compared to some of the other communities. So just
definitely.
yeah, get ready.
Um, I so I the last map that you've publicly worked on
Mhm,
was Flick for the MapCore mapping contest, the Big Adventures.
mhm.
Um, what was the biggest hurdle in that? And on top of that question, I want to say I think I heard someone tell me that there were around like 14 people on this team making this map, and I kind of want to also lead into the question of what are the logistics of that?
Oh wow. So yeah, the map flick that we worked on was for the Big Adventure map. It took up over a year in production time. I believe it was a year, and actually, yeah, just
Wow.
about. The map itself was produced by multiple people. So there are, I would say, I would say six, yeah, because Bo I'd consider our lead. Six people who were main contributors. And we had about four or five others who were contributors, but were like secondary contributors, such as the
Hmm.
person who made the all the billboards and all the movie posters But that was a contributing role. So the logistics of handling this is something that at least within our team has become a sort of a horizontal integration method that sort of replicates what Valve does in that when we come up with projects or games, we designate whoever's our project lead.
Mm-hmm.
And my role is to, within the group, just whoever's our project lead, help them get what they want. So if they want, we have within us. So for example, within our team, we have about 50 people within Eagle One.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have about 15 mappers, we've got like 10 asset makers. And so when we create a project, we just announce to the group, hey, this is a project we're making for this engine, for Alex or for Sandbox or for Counter Strike 2. And so we have a multitude of projects. Like right now, we do have an Alex project being worked on. We have two other Counter Strike 2 maps being made, and we have two Sandbox games in development. So there's a
Nice.
multitude of projects, and so the idea is, hey, these are the 5 things worked on right now. If you are interested, contact the project lead and feel free. And if they want you to jump on, they'll jump on. So whoever's a project
Okay.
lead, they ultimately they decide who's going to be on there, but they let me know or they let the team know who they want. Hey, I need a 2D artist. So we have a couple of 2D concept artists, and one of them or two or actually three of them, they'll let us know, oh, yeah, I want to jump on this, and they'll be like, no, I can't. And so at the end of it, once we start a project, we've given a project lead, usually a main level designer, and we have a pool of level designers. That's one thing I've definitely like tried to push within our development team is I want to get the level designers and environment artists
Mm-hmm.
who come from a variety of backgrounds. So for us, we don't have just one specific type of thing we're good at. One map we'll do. We did like a mini golf one up in the sky for Sandbox, and the next map we're doing like a Neo Tokyo type aesthetic. So
Interesting.
these type of aesthetic changes we don't expect everyone to be good at. But hey, if you're interested, let the project lead know, and then get on to the team. And so that's how we work across the board. This one, Flick, was originally designed by Golf Bones, Broken, and Frodoyo. Golf
Mm-hmm.
Bones was the first guy, and he didn't actually even finish it. The guy who started Flick didn't even finish it
Oh
out.
wow.
So Golf Bones came up with the idea, started the layout, and then we brought on Broken, who's he plays Counter Strike 2. He's our best. I would say our best player overall. He plays at a
Right.
very competitive level. And so he ended up taking the map and he just did completely purely the block out part. So his
Mm-hmm.
job was to take Golf Bones' idea and then he having a competitive mindset, this is the angles that we should avoid, this is where it should come in. He went through and he just created purely the block out, which we tested and iterated over and over. And then Frodo Yo came in and he was the main level designer. So then he took what the blockout looked like and began to create, this is going to be a hangar, this is going to be, the storage.
Mm-hmm.
And once he started doing that, we have through using Discord, Miro, and GitHub. Those are our three main
Mm-hmm.
platforms. We have a way to be able to synchronize across the board our ideas, our goals, what we want done. We use GitHub for requests if we have problems. We've been able to. What we do specifically with the map is we create the map and then we split it into multiple prefabs. So the main map is just basically nothing more than a bunch of smaller prefabs, and we have a check-in and check-out system. So when one
Okay.
person then, so if we have a couple of level designers, so I came on board at the end of stage two.
Mm-hmm.
So they at the end of stage two, I came on board, and so what I would do as a level designer with Frodo Yo is he would say, "Hey, I'm working on hallway A," and we literally just have a Google sheet that had a check-in, check-out system. So I'd go on and he'd be working on this prefab, I'd work on another prefab. So we can work on all at the same time, different parts of the map together. And
Right.
then we would just upload through GitHub and push our changes. So that way the map would have a multitude of people working on it. So our sound, all the sound on the map, for example, was its own prefab. So Bowman, our audio guy, if he needed to change sound, he didn't have to worry about us doing anything. He just went into a sound prefab and could just do all he wanted. And so that helped out with the flow. We had
Wow.
we used Discord and Miro for just putting ideas down and being able to collaborate, and then Discord to be able to just communicate our ideas directly. Um,
Is
and
Miro free, by
yeah,
the way? That's just a little.
yeah, yeah. It's
Oh,
three. You get three projects for free that you can use
okay.
at any time, and then you can always delete one and make a new one. So you always have a fresh one. That's been by far the most useful tool for us to collaborate and get ideas across. And then GitHub. Uh, we do have one person in our team that's our GitHub guy that just makes sure our GitHub repo is always running well. We have a server with all of our files stored on there, so his job is to make sure that all the versions that are compiled correctly are uploaded, so that way we don't get like the wrong files. So it does. We're very grateful for having people like Doc, is his name, Doc Girk, and he just loves being able to make sure that everything's running smoothly, and
Hmm.
um, it allows us as a team to work together and just focus on what we're good at. And that's kind of what I think is a big line for people when they develop maps for Counter-Strike 2.
Mm,
It's that there's so many things that you need to be able to do.
yeah.
uh it's just like having one person being able to do it all. That's actually what impresses me most. I'm most impressed with the people in the contest who did it all by themselves. I'm just
Mm,
like, I don't know how they modeled it, then they created the materials, and then they mapped it, and they have all this time to do all that. So um that is what's impressive to me. So
it's very
our
cool.
ability to yeah, our ability to work together as a team, the reason why we've like streamlined it is we've started off back with Half-Life Alex, perfected it through Sandbox, and this is now our third engine iteration that we're using
Hmm.
to create stuff with. So
That's
it's
so
helped to
cool.
have that through the years. Yeah.
So to go off of that, then in particular with Flick, what was the what was like the hardest stopping block during production? What took the most time or really stumped you?
What took the most time was and this is what's gonna suck, and this is where maybe the controversy begins, is we spent more time optimizing the map than any other part in
Mm,
stage three. Our goal was to get it running on a Steam Deck at 60 frames per second, and we did.
wow. Wow.
Um, so for us, we wanted to make sure that the map was playable for anybody who wanted to jump on.
Uh-huh.
And what I think actually ended up hurting us the most was
Mm,
that we spent more time doing this instead of trying to push more of the visual aspects of it, that I think ended up being a bigger percentage of the final score at the end of the day. The visuals for us, although they were a part of it, they weren't the most important part. And we wanted to go through and make sure that we reduced the amount of, and this was where we get technical, but like our biggest goal was reducing draw calls across the board.
right.
And so we were able to get a fat reduction of draw calls, and we have measurements of this. But at the end of the day, we gained about 30 to 40% more frames from stage two to stage three while adding more
Jeez.
detail to the map. And that to me was like, I think for people to try and understand this, we made the map more detailed while improving its frame rate. That's usually something that you can't do at the same time, but that to me was what I felt like was the biggest, ended up taking the most time. And we're proud of it because we believe of all the maps that were there, it is one of the three most optimized maps in the pool
Yeah.
so that anyone could jump on and play. And that experience to us for Counter-Strike 2 uh, is what we're hoping people take into consideration when they're playing Flick, and noting that it is performance wise capable of being played on a potato.
That's thank you. That's a great answer. So I guess you kind of answered how long that map took to make, like over a year.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I'll tell you
so
that and it sucked too. So like, and just to like harp on that, like an example is um when we wanted to make parts of the map more varied in terms of
mm,
how it looks. But one of the problems is like the more materials that you use, the more calculations the engine has to do with draw calls. And so our goal was we wanted to reuse the same material over and over and over so the engine could batch everything together into easier draw calls so it could render it quicker.
Right.
And so, for example, all the wood across the map, we only used two different types of wood materials, but we
Mm.
changed the color, we changed the decals on it, we would change the tinting on it. And so there was so much that went into taking the same material and reusing it, but trying to dress it up so that it would run better. That it actually created a lot of uh, um, we had a lot of contention within our art team for what we wanted. Someone would
Hmm.
want to do something differently here, but we would have to go back to no, it comes down to draw calls. We can't do that because we want it to run better. So that was really where the point of contention came, where people had to give up, okay, you know what, in this area, yeah, we're gonna have to do a different texture versus no, 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 we're sticking to the draw calls. We have to optimize it. So that
Mm.
was really that's really where I wanted to point that question to. That was what became difficult on top of
Wow.
actually doing the optimization. But yeah. All right,
um,
sorry.
so I guess moving on to other maps. What's like a common pitfall or a map making trope that personally dampens your enjoyment of a map?
Hmm. This is one of the tougher ones.
Yeah.
Mm, I think for me the biggest one ends up being um a lot of people make maps and the gameplay has not been at all considered as a part of the creation. Rather, it becomes much more as a aesthetical mishmash of beautiful aesthetics.
Mm.
Um, a lot of people skip the gray boxing, I guess, is another thing. You can tell when something's not
Really?
tested. It's in any type of game now. I get a much better feeling too of the type of play testing that went into it after having gone through it myself. But one example is in Counter-Strike 2. I think for Stage 2, a lot of maps were spamming a lot of foliage and not taking into consideration that if you put a bunch of trees here that are this color, the CTs going across it look exactly the same color. And
Yeah.
so now, yeah, you don't have the gameplay element that you would need in order for it to be enjoyable. And especially with Source 2. And I think I even had a video. One of the videos I made was like top three pitfalls. And my number one was that you're just going to go straight to arting it instead of actually focusing on playtesting it.
Hmm.
And it's because with Source 2, it's so easy to pop in a light here and make it look nice. It's so easy to drag some of the pre-made models and make it look, like you've got a beautiful scene. But unless it's been tested, that ends up becoming a problem. And then now you have to throw everything away because yeah, the arting phase was done before the testing.
Yeah, that was something I think I actually saw that video, and that helped before I like dove into the process to so because to give you a bit more of like a background of how this all
Mhm.
started. Way back when Stage 1 started, Team Your made that video reviewing all the gray boxes, like the 50 gray boxes that qualified and ranking them. And I thought that was
Oh yeah.
super interesting. I wasn't aware that map core was a thing. I was relatively new to CS. I've only been playing it for like a year and a half or 2 years. Um,
Okay. Okay.
I started in
Yeah.
in CS. No, it would have been CS:GO. CS:GO was still
Mhm.
on, but I
Yeah.
started
Yeah.
very late in its life. After my friend trying to convince me to play it for years, I finally came around to it, like bit the bullet,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, so I started playing CS for a while. CS2 came out. Obviously, it wasn't. It was a bit tumultuous when it first came out. It wasn't perfect.
Uh-huh.
Gave it a break. Gave it some time to get better. Then yeah, started watching people like Onapixel and just like getting more into the CS scene again. Watching the majors. But yeah,
Yeah.
Timio made that video about gray boxes, and I thought that's so cool. I want to give Hammer a shot. And I have a background in 3D. I've been doing 3D for like half a decade now, even more
Oh, okay.
actually, more like
Nice.
7 years. Um, and
Oh,
I've been an animator for even longer. Like I have a lot of knowledge that carries over really well into Hammer, I would say.
oh,
Um,
perfect. Yeah.
so I went into Hammer, and it was like a bit disorienting, even for me. And my first map I designed is not in my workshop because I never uploaded it, and I accidentally deleted the file. But it was going to be set in a science museum, and
Oh.
the A site was going to, those like inside the human body exhibits where you like walk in through the
Yeah.
mouth, and it was the A site was going to be the heart with all the like signage as cover. There was going to be
Oh,
like a big dome around it, one side lungs, one side ribs, and you could probably throw nades out of the ribs, like that kind of thing.
oh,
And like
that's a really awesome idea.
it's a really fun idea, and I simply just did not lack or did not have the knowledge or the patience to make it work. It was a really cool idea, and I really want to come back to it one day. The
Yeah.
other problem was just pathing. Like when I was drawing out layouts, I it was just a mess. You could tell that I just hadn't. I had art. I'd done the art in my head before doing the layout. So I'm like thinking about how do I make this work around this thing that I've already technically made. And I didn't even know what B
Yeah.
site was gonna be. We talked about like space themed, like solar system stuff, or like
Uh-huh.
yeah, there's a lot of options. It's a really cool and quite
Yeah.
versatile idea. It's just too big for a first map. Um,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I do have
Understandable. Yeah.
I have some clips lying around of it, like of it in production that I can send you after the interview. But it like you could tell that I didn't
Yeah.
know what I was doing. And
Oh man,
then
no, if I could show you my first map too, you'd probably you'd probably wonder how the hell I got to where I'm at right now, so don't worry.
uh
Like,
after that, like shortly after that, when I realized like, oh, this is really tough, and I have prior commitments, um, I sort of fell off doing that, and I watched the major and then Spirit won. And I was like, oh, cool, Team Spirit won. And then I stopped playing CS for like 6 months. And 6 months
uh,
just happened to be when stage two started, and Team Yor made another video, and I watched that one, and I got inspired again. um,
oh, it kept you coming back.
it did, and this time I think I forget if it was stage two or stage three, but eventually I got around to it. Was in late April of this year. I got back into Hammer, and I was like, well, more accurately, I was up at 2 a.m. one day after being awake for like maybe 36 hours. It was a rough day,
Oh,
and I was
oh,
I was like, it was just a busy day. I had a lot of work to do, and I wanted to do something non-Lego, like non-animation, just clear my head. So I went into Photoshop and I just drafted out like an insane map idea, and that map is concave, which you'll see later, I hope.
yeah.
And from there, I've just like started working on that, sort of found problems with it, realized, oh, I'm a deeply impatient person. I am going to really struggle to do an art pass on a map this ambitious for my
Hmm.
first map. So then, yeah, moved on to Ecstasy, did that for a couple weeks, then went on holiday. And while I was on holiday, I was like, I should turn this into a video. I can't sit around and not make a video for like a year. So
Yeah.
yeah, and now we're here. Now,
Oh, no, dude, that's wonderful. I think a lot of people love seeing that because that process is so it's it's a journey that I think the audience wants to take with you. And so like having that as a driving point, I think you're gonna find a lot of people loving it. See
I
that
hope
where
so.
you began with your first work, if you can ever, yeah, I know those files are lost forever, damn, but yeah, show them whatever you can start with because yeah, once you compare, it's like it's so the iteration, then you're gonna look at your next map and the next map, and then every time you make a next map, you're looking back and going, "Oh man, like if only I knew this back then, or all these
Oh,
techniques." And
I
yeah,
do have a
it's
couple. I'll send them through. They're big, so they'll be sending for a little while. Um,
Mhm.
I guess before I ask my secret question that I didn't include in the list, um,
Uh-huh.
what are a few pieces
Yeah.
of crucial advice that you would give to people wanting to get into Hammer? This could be like mindset advice or workflow, or specifically Hammer, like something that no Hammer new Hammer user should avoid.
Oh boy.
It doesn't have to be
I would
one.
say no, no. This is a good question. I would say the biggest thing is especially when it comes to hammer. I'm trying to think here. Oh man, one piece of advice I could give. Honestly, I would say that the best thing is to always be open to everyone's technique on how to make something. There's no one right way to do something.
Mm,
That drove me crazy. During the Alex days, and I call it the Wild West days of Hammer, right? When
mm-hmm,
nobody knew what was going on and we would all get into voice chat and I was really this is where our relationships developed and I got to know like a lot of community members. And there was some such a there's like essentially a mindset that I hope people don't get into, which is just thinking that there's only one way to do something and you have to do it that way. And I'll give an example. Doors. This is
mm-hmm.
I'm saying this is a very specific topic going back to Armin. I can't tell you how much this topic of how to create a door correctly fractured the Alex community within Hammer. And it's like you just had everyone making doors their own different way. So someone would make a door by taking a plane and then they would select two edges and then make a loop cut and then make a loop cut across and then like move the loop cuts. And then someone else would be like, why would you do that? You can do it quicker if you just do this way, which is a few keystrokes less. And then the argument devolves into what's faster and what's quicker. And oh, I can do this in 2 steps as opposed to 3 steps. And at the end of the day, the results are the same.
Yeah,
You're getting the same exact thing. Um, so to claim that one is always better than the other to me, I think is like absolutely worthless and a waste of time. And it ends up like screwing people over into having a closed mindset on how to produce work in Hammer, and let alone I think life. Like I will say, like the correct way to build things. So people are like, oh, the correct way. And for me, like I would say the only thing that you should do that isn't correct is just don't build in blocks.
yeah.
That would be my biggest thing. Is like people would use Hammer one techniques to create within this. That would be my only time I'd say like, no, that's the wrong way to do it. But otherwise, like when people make a stairs, some people make a stairs by like using a flat quad and then extruding up and extruding across and then extruding up and extruding across and then and
Mm.
others will they'll create a block and then they'll like make cuts around it and then delete the cuts. So whatever
My
it is, I don't.
my stair method is get on the 4 grid and just go 8 down, 12 across, and just do that over and
I
over again.
you are actually just honestly that is the right way to do the stairs. It's just like very, but yeah, that defeats the whole purpose of this. Yeah, it's just, 12 unit width stairs have definitely become a like a staple of what the correct stair length should be. Not 16 units or 8. Eight's just way too thin.
It is very
But yeah, just
goofy looking.
yeah, and I feel bad, especially coming over from like, we use the metric system everywhere except for Hammer. Hammer is like, just screw it, we're using inches, so have fun with that. Uh, but yeah, that would be my biggest piece of advice is just like be open to how people make stuff in this. Like if someone makes it differently, cool, add that to your tool bag. Like that's just gonna be a different way that you can eventually like you'll make the same thing. I can't even tell you. I think if I make a door, I'll make it every different way that I can make it in Hammer, depending on what song I'm listening to. If I'm listening to some songs that are like upbeat, I'm making cuts quicker.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
My surprise question is obviously you do have a unique perspective on this, and I equally understand if you would prefer not to answer this.
Mhm.
But what do you think about how the Mapcore contest went down, especially being one of the finalists?
Oh man, this is such a fire topic. I have a lot of I have a politically correct version that I'm going to give versus how I
That's
really feel version
that's
about things.
understandable.
I think my frustrations in the competition is due to a lack of transparency. We don't know anything about the scores or who gave scores or how many people gave scores. We have a lot of reason to believe that the categories that were supposed to be scored weren't actually scored, and
Interesting.
we have done technical tests, for example, on the different top 10 maps, and we looked at all the different frame rates and like their draw calls and what's being rendered and which maps are actually like performing well. And those points that should have been awarded to those categories, we felt like that were not subjective, weren't given as much weight. And that's unfortunate because we think several map makers who worked hard maps that really showcased how technically strong they were.
Yeah,
Like for example, like I'm gonna throw, and I'm not even trying to promote Flick. Like Canopy being a like map that was like somehow like a full 3,000 draw calls like for its entirety is like absolutely insane. And like
it's
that
magic.
map, it's like yeah, and like I talked to the guys who did it, and like they went through a very strenuous process of making sure, yeah, the performance was up to speed. So like things like that were unfortunate because maps that we were hoping would be given that credit where it's due were just not. We felt like we're just not given that light.
Hmm.
It's
I definitely
and
have
we
a
felt like.
feeling.
Mhm.
Sorry. I assume that
Oh, go ahead.
the voting came down to a sort of, you know, like bracket system. Um, but it definitely felt like maybe there was a lack of consensus because I was watching all of FM Pone's videos of him like going through the maps and reviewing them. I don't know if you did as
Mhm.
well or if you chose to
Yeah, yeah,
ignore them, but um, you know,
we definitely did.
his his assessments and the way that he approaches reviewing maps, and he's like very detail oriented. He's very big on views and like
Mhm.
creating memorable spots, and also he's particularly what's the word, stringent. He's particularly
Mhm.
stringent about object clipping,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And like watching his critique and the community's critique of maps like Warden or Grail, like
Mhm.
completely misaligned with what the results were. And I think that
Yeah.
that was very interesting. So I think overall maybe there was a lack of consensus, or maybe that personal taste led to the
Yeah.
an
There's
interesting set of maps in the final two.
it's you know, and I just want to make it clear that you know the winners who won the map are deserving of it, and
Yeah,
it's you can
absolutely.
tell the winning map is you know composed of people who are in the you know this is what they do as their job, and it shows. It's
Yeah,
amazing. I remember before that they announced the winners, I looked at my fiance and I said, "This map like is low key the dark horse, like Grail." And I remember saying like it's like because no one's talking about it. I'm like, but it is like it is so insanely well made. I'm so glad
it's a very
like
unique
that.
map.
It's a very yeah, it's very unique. I just know like with any competition, you're gonna have politics that play a role.
Mm,
And the politics that play a role were when they became questioned, they just weren't explained well enough for the community to feel like they had an answer to exactly how
true.
the scoring went down. And so I think that's what let people down, was that where we felt there would be more feedback and reasoning behind it,
Hmm.
it ended up being something that we weren't able to really learn from or like take away. So I think
Fair
that's where some
enough.
of the frustrations lie. But you know,
That's a
overall, though,
good
I
answer.
just like I just think the quality of content that was made overall, even the maps, there was so many maps that didn't make the top 10 that
Yeah.
easily could have made the top 10. I
Contact,
mean,
um,
contact, you know,
Tundra.
not to push, yeah, yeah, we had guys on our team making contact that we felt were, you know, I think they felt like maybe the theme was too far out there, and
Mm,
but they didn't get the feedback that they wanted to know the whys. I think that's just and it's hard when you have this many
yeah.
competition entries. That's what you end up getting. But you know, a lot of people look up to the you know to the judges. I think uh, I want to say James did a great job, Burdock, of you know discussing his whys, and I felt like if we had more of that, that would be the only thing to really add to what was a great you know competition.
Yeah. It was, I mean, like I think some people are also very uh close-minded about the outcome, in the sense of like, oh, last time Mapcore did a contest, Anubis won, and Anubis is in the game forever. And like, yeah, I guess when you're
Yeah,
coming into it with that expectation, Grail winning is the obvious like not choice to end up in the game
yeah,
forever, despite how good it is in so many aspects. Like realistically, if you are going off that logic of like this map will be in the game more than likely. Like the Valve will buy this map more than likely. Golden was an obvious shoe-in. Like
Yeah.
Warden had a great chance given the fact that I'm pretty sure that's made by the Mills people, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah. Yep.
Like there's
Yeah.
yeah, I think people are close-minded because like Golden will be in the game. Like even
Yeah.
like when the next map cycle comes around, I'm positive that Golden will be
That
one
was
of them.
actually Golden. Golden was if you were to ask me when they announced who was selected, even after the competition winners, I was going to say Golden was going to be up there.
Yeah.
I do know the AI controversy hurt Golden.
Oh,
Um,
I don't know about that. Oh.
yes. So here's what happened with Golden, and this is where I say politics kind of plays a role because the
Yeah.
way that this was handled actually upset a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
and the um initially, there was an accusation about a map, and I'm saying this because this is all public record. It's all on the
Uh-huh.
Mapcore Discord. But
Fair enough.
there was an initial accusation from FM Pwn that AI was being used in one of the maps, but wouldn't point out which map it was, and said that, "Hey, just a heads up, there's definitely AI in a map, and if you guys are the ones who are using it, you need to like make corrections." But the problem is that nobody knew who it was to, and it was a very blanketed statement. And so I can tell you that the first 3 hours of that day, my team was spent in an emergency meeting trying to figure out, was that us? Like who, because we all went, did you use it? And everyone's like, no, nobody on our team did it. We're like, we swear all of our assets are made, like all of our
Right.
materials are made, none of it's AI done. Like, and we did have an idea after spending a few hours because now every team I'm going to assume this is what happened. I'm assuming every team when that was sent out went through a meeting and tried to figure out what the hell went on,
Mm-hmm.
if that was them, because no one knew and they wouldn't tell us. That was the problem, is that no one would tell us. We're like, hey, could you just tell us? And this was actually, from the Grail guys. The Grail guys were pushing this like, hey, you should tell the person that you think is using AI that, hey, we think you're using AI in a probably a private manner at first, not just a,
Yeah.
hey, think someone's using AI, because now nobody knows what's going on. We're all pointing fingers at each other. And guess what happens? Now everyone went through every single map and we're trying to figure out, did this person use AI?
Right.
And
Just seeding doubt.
just seeding doubt. And so that was a big part of it. It did end up being Golden. We suspected it was Golden. It was one of the
Like wall murals, I would
It was one of
assume.
the wall murals. It was one of the wall murals, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why we knew that is because one of our material guy was actually the one who pointed out and said that, hey, I'm 99% sure this is AI generated. Um, and I trust the guy who does all the 2D art to know
Mm.
this because they're the
Yeah.
ones who do this. So, but
That's
they
a
wouldn't
shame.
confirm it. Yeah, they wouldn't confirm it though. And so
Mm.
it wasn't confirmed until actually after the competition ended.
Wow.
And the thing is that at this point, because everybody was pointing fingers at each other and nobody knew what was going on, it I am of the belief it did affect the outcome of the final judges scoring, which unfortunately I think took Golden from a position where it would be one of the top maps, because I don't think anyone would argue that Golden wasn't a top three
No, it's
map.
it's it's amazing. It's just
I think
astounding.
yeah, I think that map absolutely deserves to be up there. So with that, now Golden was no longer, I feel like, a contender for it, and so that's the big, the AI controversy that happened during the competition.
Damn, I didn't know that. That's really interesting. Um, wow.
Yeah, yeah, that was a quite a day of chaos and panic, and just everyone scrolling through. I mean, you know, I trust my team members, but I'm not gonna say I
No,
didn't go through their
of
work just to
course.
look and make sure, right? Because like, yeah, we don't want it
No,
to be on us.
especially in
Yeah.
times like these, like, and I mean, realistically, there's money on the line. There's no notoriety on the line. There's the chance of Valve buying it on the line. Like, it's obvious
Yes.
that in any context, but in this particular context, it's also really important. Like, we can't sell out the morals
Exactly.
and ethics of a creative contest. Um,
Exactly. Yeah,
I totally
exactly.
understand.
that was one thing that yeah we all took a stance on. So that was a big part of it. We did feel like that did unfortunately affect the outcome. You know
That's a
that
shame.
uh, it's a shame, but I know I'm hoping Golden gets its time because they should definitely be up there. The community
Oh,
deserves to play that map.
yeah, like massively. I mean, I would love to see all of them appear, and I think that in the long run, I think a lot of the maps that were top 10 are gonna show up.
Yeah,
Because you know these
yeah,
contests are few and far between.
they
Uh,
are. And we were joking. We are like, well, Valve now has their next four rotations filled out. Like they can literally
mm,
just pick the top 10 maps, and then even a couple of the non-top 10 maps should be
yeah,
considered. But we're thinking, yeah, they have the next few rotations figured out. They just throw these maps in there and call it a day.
yeah. Wow, thank you. That's way more insight than I expected. That's really really cool.
Yeah.
Um, right. I'm hoping that in the time it takes for you to review my maps, that they will actually approve my hay fever submission. Um, but yeah,
Hmm.
let's okay. Give me a second. Let me leave a pause here.
No worries.
So,
So this is for,
mhm,
yeah, this is for number 9 and 10, right?
yes. So
Okay. Okay.
number 9
Let,
is my Steam Workshop.
okay. Okay. Let me, so for 9 and 10, would I be able to, I'd be more than happy to go through. Could I record
You could screen
what I feel
share.
and, okay.
And
Uh,
we could have like a
I just,
live review session if possible.
okay. I just know, only unfortunately the next 10 minutes my daughter's gonna get up, so I am gonna have to
Okay.
I'm gonna have to go get her, but I don't want to not give you my feedback for 9 or 10. I would be
Okay.
more than happy tonight to go through. I can record my
That would
screen
you
share.
know
Like I
that
can
would
do a
actually
quick
be
once and
wonderful.
send that to you.
That'd be
Okay,
wonderful.
yeah, I'd be, and if you have any specifics, if you don't mind, you can just go ahead and send me specifics if you would like for questions 9 and 10. I'll make sure to address them.
Oh, yeah. I
Like
mean,
if there's
just
anything specific in there, yeah, like I know with the concave ecstasy and hay fever, maybe you like had something in there that you wanted more of. Yeah, let me know. I'd be more than happy
okay.
to
That will work
for nine and
perfectly.
ten.
Yeah, that
And
would be perfect. I guess instead
uh
of question 9 or 10, I'll quickly get you to if you just watch the videos that I sent you.
okay, yeah, sure. Let
That's
me take a quick
that's the
look.
lost uh few clips I have of D discovery.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is nice. Okay, so this is the rib cage that you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and the
CT entrance was
like the
through the
ventilation.
mouth. Uh,
Okay, perfect. And the heart right there, excellent. Okay, going through. Oh, I see what you mean by throwing grenades through the rib cages. Yeah, and then the entrance up into there. I like the planet with rings. Yeah, I just and just off the top of my head, um I would just the next thing to do would be a lighting because you have your primary light, which is going to be
mm,
your skylight coming all the way through, which is doing a great job of illuminating it. Um I would for your map, um, add what I call secondary lights now. So the primary
mm-hmm.
is your main light coming through that skylight. Secondary lights are just going to be lighting up the focal points of your map. So the bomb site itself being lit up,
Yeah,
yeah, the main paths and entrances, and then I would just and I don't I can't judge this yet on anything outside of just objective things since
yeah,
I can't. But
because it's long gone.
besides, so wait, so this is the first one you're talking about? Oh, okay,
This
okay, that's
yeah
the
this
first one.
this is the one. This is I made this in
Okay,
2024, and then didn't
okay,
touch Hammer again until May of this year.
and the bottom. Okay, and then the second one is that the
It's
same
just
one
that's
or that's a different one?
earlier in the process. Yeah, when I was going through
Okay,
like a second try on the art.
all right, yeah, no, I can see the bones much more defined. I was like, all right,
Still very messed up, but
yeah, no, no, this is good. This is your first is way better than my first. I'll tell you that. Oh yeah. Um,
my big thing is like I'd say my biggest weakness, and you'll probably see this in the sketches as well as like all of my maps. Although I'm working on it with Hay Fever. My biggest weakness is probably like making areas, and I'm also kind of rough with scale. Uh,
Yeah.
like scale is really tough for me in Hammer. But I'm
Yeah.
trying to learn it. 72 units.
My
Everything is around that.
72 units, yeah. And like you end up just getting used to like certain things like doors, 56 by 112, and then you have like ceilings, most usually 128, and then like tall ones 140 for height.
Hmm.
It just doesn't help that, using the metric and then trying to convert over to the imperial is not going to help. It's
Yeah,
like it
I
does
think
not make it easy.
what I want to do, because talking to Razzle Dazzle, he's obviously very sketch orientated when it comes to map design.
Hmm.
And I was talking to Team Urine, when he makes maps, he doesn't sketch at all. He looks at reference images and then remakes things that he likes the look of in Hammer
Yeah,
just by eye. And I think both are very viable. I think a good
yeah,
combination for me would be getting some grid paper, because then I can basically map out the units in the grid.
yeah.
That would be very helpful for me.
It
Um,
definitely helps out. Oh yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I look forward to the video reviews. And I guess I'll just splice them in to the full interviews. Because what I'm gonna do before I get on to question 11, and I'll be quick with it, is
Oh yeah.
basically at the end of this video or near the end of this video, I'm gonna have this big reveal that I've interviewed all you people. Because at the start of my video, I'm like, I don't want to gatekeep my resources. Here are the people that inspired me and that I use these resources. So I'm like, oh, I mentioned
Yeah.
you, I mentioned T, I mentioned Razzle, I mentioned Jim Wood and Angel, who I'll be interviewing at some point, probably this week or next week. So I and then at the end of the video looping it around and being like talking to them, and I'll have very very condensed versions of these interviews near the end,
Yeah.
and then uh, I'll
No,
be
these are good.
also
I mean,
be
yeah, these are good by the way. I mean, Angel, I know personally. Jim Wood, I mean, I've worked with them for their Rad Gen, so
Mhm.
they're wonderful, and they've been involved in Razzle Dazzle, yeah, over at Map. So this is a great lineup
It's a really
With
fun
T2,
lineup.
obviously. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and the I'll probably be uploading the full interviews as unlisted videos, like in the description. So my aim is for this to both be, a journey and also a resource, because like everything you've told me isn't specific to me necessarily. Like this is all just valuable, interesting information um,
no, thank you.
that people deserve to hear. So
No,
my
appreciate it.
last question and a half is so long
Hmm.
term, whenever it may be, I want to make a 5v5 fun, fair diffusal map, and hopefully when that's done, I'd love to call you back and show you how it is, and maybe even have you playtest it. Would you be up for that?
Oh yeah, 1,000% would love to.
Absolutely. And lastly, before you go on your merry way, do you have anything to promote?
Nope. I mean, just my channel for learning Source 2. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm self
No,
promoting too much on that,
no,
but like
absolutely.
definitely
Please do.
that and the Discord, the Eagle One Discord has like I said, we're like the North American mapping. You go to mapping for the European playtests, you come to Eagle One for the North American playtests, and we're just a group of people that are really like, I think what we try to do is we pride ourselves on just being a community that is helpful as possible. So anyone who wants to come over and learn the engine, even if it's the basics, you will always find someone in voice chat sharing a screen, just willing to help out. And if no one's in there and you jump in, it's one of those servers where people will happily like jump on to have that sense of community. So we like to, any Discord community, like have you end up having a group of people that are regulars that'll just make it seem like a safe place to go and share the same share the same hobby we have, share the same passions we have together. And those would be the two things I promote: my channel and
Nice.
my Discord.
Eagle One
Thank you.
has a very good sound design or like sound event tutorial that they've series that they've been doing as well.
Oh yeah,
I'm looking
yeah.
forward to
B
more
you
of that.
Yeah, the guy who does that B man, he is always in there jamming on his musical instruments too. So you'll get some good jam sessions.
Cool. All right. Thank you
Oh
so
yeah.
much, Sammy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hey, absolutely, man. Anytime. I'll make sure in the next day or two. If I don't get it done tonight, I'll send it tomorrow night. I'll get the recording of that done and link it to you. So yeah, man, it's my
Thank you so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And anytime you need help, like off, just I'd be more than happy to help you with anything that you run into, whether it's the creation of this or getting information. Or if you need like any of the audio stuff done,
Excellent.
um,
Thank you.
yeah,
That's so cool.
our group would be more than
Maybe
happy to
one day
help
I'll
out.
hit you up and we can make the discovery happen for real.
Hey, let's do it.
All right. Thank
All right.
you.
Have a good one, Miko. Take care.
Bye bye.